Welcome to Geocache Adventures, the podcast where we explore everything geocaching. I'm your host, Shadow Dragon 1. I love geocaching. If you're listening to this, you probably love it too. If you enjoy the podcast, consider sharing it with somebody that you think would love it. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and there's a Facebook group as well, so you can join in the fun and share your adventures. There's also a Patreon page that you can join and unlock exclusive content. Hi, everybody. Amy, Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me today is Brian. You may know him as Scouter74. How are you today?
I'm good. Yourself, Amy?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, since you're a first-time guest, can you tell us how did you get started geocaching?
Well, I started in 2010. I was a Cub Scout leader at the time, and one of my fellow Scout leaders introduced the Scouts into geocaching. And actually, he no longer caches, but I continued caching, and when we moved into Boy Scouts, I became a geocaching merit badge counselor for our troop, even.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
So I'm guessing that has a tie into the scouter part of the username there.
Yeah, I was involved in, I was a scout leader for 12 years while my son was in scouts.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Very cool. So today we're going to talk about journaling your geocaching and geocaching journals.
Yes.
That's a tongue twister. So you actually recently have developed 3 different journals, which we are going to look at a bit more in depth. But let's talk a little bit about why somebody might want to journal their geocaching. What are some reasons that you may want to do that besides just logging a find online?
So for a new cacher, being able to look back at those first 10, 20 finds, to go back over the experience that you had after you're past your 100, 200, 300 mark, is saying, yeah, I didn't find that, but I'm finding those easy now, type of thing, or just keeping that experience. But for the experienced cacher, there's everything from milestones to mega events to other goals that cachers set all types of goals for challenges to challenge themselves. And so using a journal to log those will help you just remember down the road what you've done for those special caches.
I like that because, yeah, once you start getting several hundred or 1,000, as some people have, you don't necessarily want to go in and log every single geocache. I can only imagine how many journals somebody with 35,000 geocache finds is going to have laying around.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
So, those are some good reasons for why you'd want to journal your geocaching. But how does, say, a geocaching journal entry differ from like a geocaching log entry?
Well, so you're talking about the 3 different books that I've done. Uh, the geocaching journal book, it gives details that people are not going to think about as far as just logging a cache goes. So when we're looking at this, yes, you're going to know a cache name, the cache code, the date and time you found it, the time you spent looking. So most people are not going to note that online. And for some people, they're not going to care how long they spent looking. But if you're noting special caches, and say you're doing a 5,000 milestone cache and you're going after a cache that hasn't been found in 5 years, and you're doing a 2-mile hike out for that special milestone cache, the time you spent looking is going to be more valuable for that special type of cache versus pulling up and doing a lamppost cache type of thing. Getting into the cache size type, that's all going to be on your online log. Now, the weather condition, what other caches were with you, that's not going to be on that online log unless you note it in your log itself. And so sometimes looking back, hey, yeah, on my 1000th cache, I was with Shadow Dragon. That was an amazing adventure type of thing. And so having those notes to look back on is kind of special. And then on the next page, we've got everything from highlighting your special memories. Talk about your hunt, the trek you took, if you earned a souvenir for that, a new county, a new state, a new country. And so some of this is going to be documented if you're using, say, my geocaching profile or Project GC. So some of that information is going to be on there for stats as far as that goes. But if you're using this book just for milestones, this is going to give you that information quickly as far as that goes. And there's other information in here too. I'm not going to go over every line of the book as far as that goes, but
it's got some interesting entries that I don't think I would have thought of for logging in a journal. Like, did you give the cache a favorite point? I don't think I would have necessarily thought to have marked that down. Or did you include a picture with your log? I think those are interesting things to reflect back on.
Oh, definitely. And so this journal kind of, I guess what inspired me is I've got, I guess, a travel journal myself that I've been keeping for over 30 years. And so every place I've been to, any big site I've seen, I've documented. And so in doing that, I thought, well, what could I do to help cachers that are new or even the experienced ones with the specialty caches do to help keep their memories? So,
and what I really like about this, you do have a kid's travel journal, but even this journal, it's the way it's laid out, and I don't want to call it simple, but it's simple enough to log some of the stuff and find the information to log some of the stuff that even a kid could use the geocaching journal.
Yes.
And log that stuff too.
Yeah, I created the geocaching or the kids travel journal for kids to use. And yeah, they're gonna have to be able to write. So if they can't write, obviously, mom or dad's gonna have to do the journal as far as that goes. But after I published this, I've got a sister that actually lives down in St. Louis near you, and she ordered two, and she started to just put all of the places they've been to, hadn't filled out any of the details yet, and put all the places that they'd been to with their kids. And she called me up and she's like, this is a really cool book. I didn't realize how much we'd taken the kids to so far. And so she was really excited about this book as far as that goes. So
it is really a neat book. And I gave, you were gracious enough to send me copies, and I gave the one to my son, and they actually came in right before, like a few days before we left on a road trip. So it was perfect timing.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, he doesn't remember where he put it when we got home. So, but I really like the layout, and I like the pages. They're the color in the pages without being overwhelming color, is to still be able to write and stuff. What I really like is where you have the layout of like transportations I've used, and they can color in or mark or however they want to the different types of transportation they've been on, and then the state map where they can color in or mark the states that they've
Oh yeah.
traveled to. That's really neat. It's really fun, and
Well,
yeah, I'm hoping
thank
to
you.
find where he shoved that soon so I can look at what he did.
Yeah, at the front of each book, I've got a who this book belongs to type of page, and so they can put down how old they were, and like you said, the different states that they've been to, and so just keeping track of all of that over time. My dad, he's been in 48 of the 50 states, and in his garage he has a map with pins of every state he's been to,
Oh,
and
wow.
he's got 2 states left he's planning on doing in the next year or two, he said. So
That's awesome. So you have your third journal, and I've never seen one like this before. This is very interesting because it's a geocaching journal, but it's geocaching geocachers that you've met along the way.
yes. So if you follow me on social media, anytime I meet up with other geocachers in person, I like to get a picture with them, and then I take that picture and I'll put my caching name, Scouter74, above me, and I'll put their caching name above them, and I post it all over my social media. It's also on my website, scouter74.com, and I've got a tab just for geocachers, and you click on that and you can see all these different geocachers that I've met and their names. And there's going to be some duplicates. My wife's on there a couple of times. Maybe my kids are on there a couple of times. um uh Sam Marcus, he created Bamarama, the mega event that took place in Gulf Shores.
Okay.
I met him last year. I hosted a event down in Gulf Shores last year. Actually, it was a birthday party for myself, and so I done a birthday event, and he showed up along with a few other cashers. I got a group picture then. Well, I was back down in Gulf Shores this year, and he had a couple events, and I attended them, and so I got another picture with him. So he's on there twice, and so hey,
Nothing wrong with that.
not at all. And so I've been connecting with other cachers, and I'm like, okay, so what type of information do I get off of other cachers to stay connected with them? And so for my third journal, Geocaching Geocachers, I've actually got a 4-page journal book. And so it it's very detailed, and you're not going to fill in a lot of this for most of the people that you meet. So you may save it for certain people. You may fill it in for every cacher that you meet. But if they give you their contact information, you can put their contact information in here. If they have personalized items such as a geocoin, path tag, wood nickel, trading cards are popular, especially at going caching. There's
Yes.
a trading card just for going caching. I've seen where lackeys have their own trading cards now, and so you can mark a trading card that you got one. A book. So if you meet me and you have one of my books, you can check off that you got a book. And I've actually been reading a book of uh, mafia. Uh,
Oh, I think I have
uh,
this. Is it the game within the game?
yes, yeah.
Yes, I have that
So,
book.
and of course, the geocaching bloggers got a comic
Like,
book out.
yeah.
So yeah, and then if they're on social media, there's an entire page of social media that you can check if you follow them, or Uh, and then there's a page for a picture. And if you don't want to put a picture, you can do all other types of information on a full blank page.
I love
And so,
that you have a spot to put autographs.
yeah.
That's just fun.
So you have people that like to collect autographs. Sometimes it's sports figures, sometimes it's movie stars. Hey, why not fellow geocachers?
Yeah,
We're all famous. We're finding treasures people don't even know about.
exactly. I I don't think I would have ever thought to have logged something like this before seeing this book. And it's really neat, especially, for the like all the vloggers that people follow. Like it's exciting to meet them out in the wild in person at events and stuff. And then this is, a way to, I mean, it's exciting to meet other geocachers in general, but those ones that you follow and you feel like because you see all their stuff, that just you get like a little kid. It's like, oh my gosh, there he is, and it's a neat way to kind of record that information. And
Oh, definitely. Yes. I could see a lot of people taking it to mega events to get people that they follow as far as that goes.
yeah,
And then I can also see people going to local events and cachers that they see every few months. They're like, it'd be nice to get their contact information because, hey, they found that hide last month and I can't find that thing. And so getting their contact information to help with something like that. So
or this would be good even for if you're newer to caching and you go to events
mhm.
and get contact information for people that can kind of help mentor you and show you the ropes and stuff.
Oh, definitely.
And what I really love about this book, I mean, you in all of them you put some information at the beginning about who you are and what this is about and everything. But since this is a geocaching geocachers book, you also have some of your geocachers pictures in the
Yes.
very front. I
And
think that's really fun.
I contacted everyone, got permission for them to be in my book, but you've been talking about other cachers that people follow. I've even got Cache the Line
You
on
got Cash Line on
here.
there.
So
Bar of Harkin, who's been on the podcast several times.
actually, I was just listening to you two today.
Yes, he was just on the last episode, and we actually stayed on topic fairly well considering the two of us talking. So it's a really very unique, interesting journal. I've never seen one like this. And this one by itself, I think, is probably like the most unique I've ever seen.
I would agree with that. When I decided to do this, I'd gone on and I found other kids' travel journals and I found other geocaching journals out there. But I did not find a geocaching geocachers journal. And so I think it is very unique for what it is.
It is. What inspired you to make these three journals? You've talked a little bit about how you've kept travel journals and stuff, and I'm sure that has played into it. But, actually, I mean, it's easy for people to go, oh, you know what? It would be neat to write a book. But then actually doing it is a whole different level. So what got you there?
I've just been looking for different things to do. Obviously, I love to get out and geocache. Um, I've got two kids of my own. One just graduated college, got married. The other one's in college, and they're in different states. So we're constantly traveling just to see them. So it does limit me some for getting out and geocaching. And so I thought, well, what else can I do to uh, also be a part of geocaching and just be something unique. And so I decided to do the journals because um, I also love to travel, and as I mentioned, I have travel journals. When I was younger, I started collecting postcards everywhere I go. And so I've actually got a couple postcard albums, and in these albums is actually where my travel journals are. So it's got every place I've been to. I've even got a list of every hotel I've stayed in, every airline I've flown on. It's probably a little more detailed than most people would even do. But it's when we started traveling with my kids, I told them, I said, pick out something. I don't care if it's a magnet, I don't care if it's a keychain, a collector spoon, pick out something and collect it everywhere you go. Because if you get t-shirts or whatever else, you're going to outgrow them. They're going to fade. You're going to get rid of them. Get something that you can collect. And so I've always loved to travel, and I've always documented my travel. And so, yes, the kids travel journal was actually the first one. And then after
Okay.
that, I thought, how about geocaching? And so then I came up with the geocaching journal. And then after I've done the geocaching journal, I've been really promoting meeting other geocachers on my social media. And so I'm like, how can I connect that to a journal? And that's when I came up with geocaching geocachers, making friends while you geocache. So
It's a very neat idea. What challenges, if any, did you run into when you were trying to create these?
it's something I'd never done before. And um, my daughter actually recommended an online software.
Oh.
And so I done an online software or application, and I created them. And then the biggest hurdle was to get the right size to import into the publication. So,
Mm.
but I I went through multiple versions before I finalized each. Um, I would say I'd spend weeks going through one book before I was happy with the way it turned out, because I was constantly changing something and tweaking it. And I'm like, what can make this better? And yeah. So,
Did you send copies or, printouts to anybody to kind of review and sort of test them out before you got to the final product?
yes, I did. I I picked two other geocachers. In fact, know one of them. He was just on your podcast. So I had sent out the publications to two other geocachers and had them look them over. Both of them gave me recommendations and ideas. And so I even tweaked it a little after getting their feedback. So yeah, it's not just me that has input into these books. I contacted some experienced geocachers too and said, "Hey, can you give me some feedback?" So, yeah.
And what made you decide to put in the very beginning sort of a rundown of your story and what they're for versus just
Um,
here's the pages, go for it?
I mentioned I was reading uh, Mafia Memphis's book, and in the front of he talked about his story, and so I thought, well, I've got it on my website, but why not put it in the front of the book? So when, as I mentioned, there's a handful of geocaching journals out there that people can buy. With putting my information in there, it's letting them know that I'm an experienced geocacher. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm not just making up a book for people to buy. I didn't copy it from someone else. It's something that I created, and I put a lot of thought into it.
Okay. So on the geocachers, that kind of stands alone because it seems to be like the only one of its kind so far.
Yeah.
On your other two journals, what would you say is different about them versus other ones out there?
I've just got the I took the time with all the experience that I've had and put it into them. In fact, my wife made a comment that I done the travel journals after our kids were out of the house, and it's something I could have done when they were younger. And I'm like, yeah, but I got a lot more experience now.
Yeah.
And so, just the detail that I've put into them, I'm hoping it sets me apart from the others. I I haven't taken time to get anyone else's journal to look at it, to try to copy it or anything like that. I've done it all on my own, and I'm just hoping it's very unique for the category that it's in.
I would say it, sometimes you get books on geocaching or whatever, and you read it and it's very obvious the person probably read a paragraph online and put something together. Your journals, looking at them, it's obvious you have been a part of this game. You know what you're talking about. You have details and items in here that that experience is showing through, I think.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a really neat project. And I applaud you even just for going through and creating, it's a big chore to just put something like this together. And then you've done it really well. So these are very cool.
Well, thank you very much. I've I've got them on Amazon. People can go to scouter74.com and I've got a merchandise tab and that'll take you to my Amazon. Um, I'm not making anything off of them, so I put the price at a point where I'm breaking even just to get the books out there.
And I'll have the links to all three of those in the show notes for this episode as well. Do you have any advice for anybody who is journaling for geocaching, whether with these types of journals or they get just a notebook and start writing about their experiences? Do you have any advice for them?
It's all about the memories, because I, there's certain caches that I look back on and that I'm like, hey, I'm glad I'd done that, or I'm glad I went there. I'm glad I saw that. And so if you're journaling, I mean, you're not going to necessarily journal about every single cache. It's about the ones that take you to unique places that you would have never been there before. Um, my daughter's down in Nashville, and I was down there for a parent weekend for college, and it was just her and I, and we were out and about. And she goes, "Dad, I know you want to go geocaching. Is there one in the area?" And I'm like, "Yes, there is. Of course, there
Good
is."
kid.
And we went and we found this giant stone that was on the Battle of Nashville. Now, it was on the corner, or it was just off of two different interstates. You couldn't see it from either interstate. You got off the interstate and you're pulling back into this apartment complex, and there's this gravel road off the side. You pull the gravel road off the side and you get out and you walk into the trees. And up in the trees is this giant memorial, Battle of Nashville, and every side of it had information on the Battle of Nashville. You would not have known it was there at all if it wasn't for geocaching. And the daughter was so amazed, and she, of course, we took pictures, all types of pictures, and she's like, "I'll never forget this one, Dad," type of thing. And so that's what the journal's for. It's for those unforgettable ones.
That is a really great point and advice, because I'll tell you, early on I got myself a little notebook and I was going to put in a little note about every single one of them aside from the actual logging online, and it gets old really quick, especially when it's all these LPCs and, guardrails or whatever. There's only so much you can say about
Yeah.
them. Or do it a power trail, another bison tube and another pine tree. So
Another pill bottle. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
another magnetic key box on a guardrail. There's only so much you can say about those.
Yeah.
But I really like the idea of using it to document those really monumental ones, those awe moments, or these are so cool moments. That's a really neat idea.
Well, and if you go and you look at my stats, the, the last 4 or 5 milestones I've had have all been event caches. So I have made it work out where on my last 5 milestones have been event caches.
Okay.
And so that's something unique I've been trying to do. And that's something that I'm just not grabbing a LPC or a pill bottle by a pine tree for a milestone. I've been making it something special to me. And so the whole meeting other geocachers, I love going to events. And so, yeah.
That's perfect for you then.
Yes.
Oh, that's very cool. These Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about these journals or journaling in general or geocaching in general before we wrap it up?
It's all about having fun. If you're not having fun, then time to find another hobby.
I agree with you there.
Now there's times it's not always fun. If you're in it for the numbers, you're doing a power trail. Yeah, it's gonna be a pill bottle every other telephone pole or something like that. Or if you end up with ticks or chiggers or poison ivy, yeah, not quite so fun. But if overall you're not enjoying it, well, then yeah, it's all just about having fun. And so I just enjoy getting out, enjoy seeing different things, unique places, and that's the whole purpose of the journals. So,
Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming on here today and talking to me about this. And these are very, very neat journals, and I do recommend people go check them out because they're reasonable priced, they're well laid out, well thought out. They're very cool.
well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me on, Amy.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or go to geocacheadventures.org and you can find the information on the contact page. Theme music is by The Travel Bugs. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers. It is full of articles and pictures all submitted by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. My favorite part is the little snippets on the edges of the articles on all the different pages. Those are my favorites. Just go to ftfgeo.com to check them out and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you.